Alright then. Good afternoon, everybody. Azure here as always. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Before I start a regular Splatoon stream, I'm going to stream a little bit of a game I've been, saying that I was going to play on stream, and I've been strongly prompted to play on stream before. It's a title that's a bit near and dear to my heart because it's the second game I've ever played in life, and the first game I pretty much earned in a sense. There's a long story behind that, but basically a lot of good memories here. And the game in question is StarTropics for the NES. We'll be playing it through the Virtual Console today. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started. Oh, well, it looks like I had a game in progress previously, so let's just reset that now. This game's music is absolutely great, so let's just let the intro play out a little bit. See, this was our intro back in the day. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say things like that considering I was born in 1989, so when I first played this game it was at least 3 years later, but yeah, so a little bit more background history before we jump into things. So I earned this game. Remember how I said I earned this game? I earned this game because when I first got interested in video games, my aunt and my mother, they were the biggest gamers in the family. And at the time, they had a huge rivalry going on in a bunch of the different titles available then, mostly Tetris and Super Mario Brothers. For whatever reason, they stopped playing for a little while. I'm guessing it's because my mother had me and my aunt was in college at the time. And a few years down the line, I'd say like maybe 1993, 94, I started gaming pretty early, but yeah, around that time, they had a party in the house, and at the time I was just a curious kid who was looking around at everything wondering what X was, what Y did. And I noticed that there was this weird gray box on top of our VCR, and nobody ever did anything with it. I asked them, hey guys, what does this thing do? And they pull it down, they plug 2 controllers in, and they start playing Super Mario Brothers. Now at the time, I didn't know anything about what was going on. I didn't know what Super Mario Brothers was. All I know is that I was going absolutely crazy because there was a man inside the TV and Mom and Auntie Jackie could make him move. I'm like, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? And of course they let me do it and hazed me in the oldest way known to video game playing man, by letting me play as player 2 and running into the first Goomba in Super Mario Brothers almost 7 times in a row before I found out that there's a jump button. Yo, but seriously, that memory and all the memories I had of playing with them are pretty much the biggest reasons why I both play video games and why I want to develop them in the future. Moving on a little bit in time, after playing Mario Brothers religiously for like I'd say a year or 2, I had finally gotten to the point where I was closing in on beating the game. And my mother tells me, if I beat Super Mario Brothers 1 with no warps, she's going to go to Toys R Us and buy me 3 games. 2 of them were going to be surprises and 1 of them was going to be my choice. I was hyped as hell because I didn't even know you could get more games for this thing. So sure enough, I try, and I finally beat Super Mario Brothers 1. So they had me the old NES black pamphlet. I don't know if you guys will remember this, but it was this fold-out pamphlet that used to come in some of the old NES boxes. And it would have images of the different games available to buy and play at the time. Now, at the time, I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know what other things would grab my attention. So I'm looking through the pamphlet, and I looked through all the different things. I saw Metroid, I saw Zelda, all of those old school things that have become so big nowadays. But it was actually StarTropics that caught my eye because of both the synopsis of the idea of, what do you call it, a young American in name only kid going off on this adventure to save his uncle in the middle of the tropics. It's like a real Indiana Jonesy Saturday morning cartoon type thing. But what really got me was how colorful and how vivid everything felt. It was really, really interesting for me. And it's also kind of I'm also beginning to believe that because of that decision, StarTropics was my Zelda personally. Like, the way that everybody talks about Zelda and deep adventures and all of these little things back in the day, that's pretty much my experience with StarTropics. So, yeah, I think at this point I've spoken quite enough on why this game is so big to me, despite its relative obscure nature, but I hope, if anything, you guys got a little bit more context on why I love this thing and why you'll eternally see me asking for Mike Jones to be in Smash Brothers, even as a trophy at this point. I'll settle for trophy. Alright, so, with all of that said, it is now time. Yeah, this is one of the coolest things about this game. It literally starts you off with little blurbs about what's about to happen in each chapter, like a story. So for the first part of this game, it's a top-down sequence where you navigate yourself among a little map to points of interest, like say this village. You're encouraged to talk to as many things as you can, like in those old school, like Final Fantasy top-down RPG manners, but trust me, it's far from an RPG. Here we're being introduced to all the different villagers and whatnot. Yes, you can talk to the wildlife as well. So the story as is Mike's uncle, who is a pretty well-known archaeologist, has found himself on this island and it regularly does research here, hence why everybody on the island knows him well. And also why you're being greeted so warmly. Now, the other thing about these islands, they're a very superstitious bunch. So keep that in mind. Yeah, the music is absolutely great. By the way, I see you guys posting in the chat, although I don't have a chat up on screen. Alright, so that was your very first stern warning not to enter a certain area. I wonder why that is. And now, we meet the village chief. By the way, notice the similarities in his face to Mario. That's intentional. And now you see, here's the first bits of something going on that nobody knows about just yet. Of course, you can always choose no, but unfortunately, Paper Mario style dialogue where you get really funny things when you say no doesn't exist yet. Okay, so here's an interesting thing, right? This man here says, take this star, or what they call the island star in the Virtual Console re-release, right? But in the original game, it was referred to as the yo-yo. Now, the reason for the change is because the yo-yo term is patented, and I'm imagining that on the re-release of this game on Virtual Console, they didn't have the licensing to say yo-yo like that. And now, we head to the tunnel. Now tell me, 3 guesses, where do you think we're headed next? The next person of note that we meet is the Island Shaman, the sister of the Island Chief. Now begin the test of island courage, one of my favorite lines in the game right here. And now, we begin. This is the second act of the game, or the second portion I should say. When the game switches to the dungeons, you begin in a top-down, grid-based manner. You're moving around left, right, up and down, while fighting things that come along using your yo-yo, or star, whichever you prefer. In a manner similar to The Legend of Zelda. What really separates it though is the large amount of platforming that goes on in the dungeons. You move about on the screen. Alright, you know what, maybe I should pause this. Oh wait, nah, I'll let the music rock. So yeah, you move around on screen in a grid-like manner. You can't really turn quickly on a dime outside of certain situations. The entire idea behind this is in each movement you take, you have to commit to what you're doing. It's a bit puzzle-like in that manner, despite the action-oriented nature of the game. So now you have your scrub enemies. They're moving really slowly, and they just kind of act as your fodder. Basically, your Goombas teaches you about the game while also allowing you to get your bearings while moving about. So I should also mention something else very interesting about this game. Notice how these panels in the middle of the water you can hop on. Every now and again something special happens on certain panels when you hop on them. You'll see more on that in the future. And I should also mention this. Notice how every one of these has been set up so that you can't go into the water. Intentional. Mike can't swim. And yeah, that pause is absolutely adorable. I've always liked this thing. Alright then, onward. Now we introduce more. Oh. Yeah. I'm really scrubbing it up right now. Alright. Alright, you see the layout of this room? So as you move around the different rooms, you're gonna have to find different ways to navigate to the opposite ends of the stage, and eventually find something to, open the blocked path. Yeah, it's your typical, dungeon crawler affair here. It's really fun though. I'm just trying to remember if there's anything specific here. And I'm taking it slow. For those of us who know how the game goes, this might be a bit slow for you, but I'm just doing it for the people who are new to this. Yes, we're fighting all manners of life down here, including slugs and rats with a yo-yo. Now, we move ourselves down this way. A fun little thing about this game that it took me quite a few years to notice, some of the actual layouts of panels on stage actually create like images of things that you'll have to deal with later on in the game. Like you notice that that one looks somewhat like a face. It actually looks kind of like one of the last few bosses you have to fight in the game. Now, here's where the game starts to get really, really interesting for me personally. Every now and again, it's gonna start. Oh no! Yeah, I really scrubbed that one up, so I'm gonna start going faster. But basically, here's where the game is gonna start introducing some of the later concepts you'll see a lot of in like post Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Dummy rooms. Dummy rooms are very strange occurrences where you'll get multiple ways to leave the same room, but at the same time, you will, chances are you're not going to guess what the first way is the very first time you've played this game. Either you'll get a hint from the overworld, or you'll just have to do a lot of trial and error to find it. But the good thing about it is, it's not like you're doing asinine amounts of trial and error. Everything actually has a very, a very well thought out placement. Oh, I should probably explain what the pickups do. Alright, so hearts, I think you can understand, that's a universal concept from Zelda. Stars are more interesting. They'll drop them, like, for every 3 enemies you kill without, taking damage yourself, they'll drop a star. If you collect 5 stars, it gives you a heart. Trust me, you're gonna start needing these a lot once the later enemies and the later health upgrades start coming into play. Because in this game, no matter what happens, if you die in a mission, despite sorry, I shouldn't say mission. In a dungeon chapter, yeah, let's call it that. If you die in a dungeon chapter, you will only ever restart with 3 hearts. It becomes really, really tense later on. Alright, so this is just giving you an idea of some of the dummy rooms. They'll set you up with like all this nonsense and you pretty much have to fulfill the condition that they give, or in this case, destroy all the enemies, right? Yeah, notice how he hops kind of slowly over these? It's intentional. Remember what I said about how this is somewhat of a puzzle platformer in design. Oh, I wonder what that one does. Hey. Yeah. Okay, so here's another little interesting thing. Oh, give me a second, guys.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
What happened?
What do you want from the nacho nacho? You could just say burrito.
Fish, yeah, the fish one. Over here, solidifying lunch plans. Okay then. Back to the game. So, pickups in the dungeon. These are small perishable weapons that you get. Notice the number underneath them. If you collect them in the dungeon, it allows you to do combat with them over the main thing. Like honestly, what?
It's an NES game. Ain't no tutorials.
I'm just explaining it for the people who might not be familiar with stuff like this. That made it more interesting. Alright, so my brother's over here chastising me because I'm teaching pretty much gamers how the game works. But really the long and short of it is these are perishable weapons. You get them in the dungeons, but you can only use them in dungeons. You don't carry them outside. The only things that go with you outside are your main weapon. So in this game it's the yo-yo. Okay. Notice the change in tone with the music? There we go. Oh, I should also mention, so certain weaponry, right? Like, why would you elect to use, like, let's say these, what do you call it? These flaming embers over anything else in the game. Sometimes, at different points in the game, you'll get access to weapons that you really, what do you call it? That will help you make a difference in certain fights, despite your basic weapon doing basic damage, right? Some of them have better range, some of them do, what do you call it, have crazy effects, all that kind of good stuff. And now what you're seeing in here, notice the change in music again. This is your rest area. Oh my god! It has really been a long time if I got hit with two trap rooms in a row. So yeah, remember what I was telling you guys about how this game is really, really good about playing with, player expectation? Yeah, that's one of the big things here. Expect a lot of things like that. They will set you up with setups that look familiar, and depending on how you are as a person, like if you're meticulous, if you're if you rush in, it preys on all of that. Honestly, it's that aspect of this game series that really has always made me enjoy it, because I mean, look at that. I've been playing this game so many times since 1994, and I can still get hit with stuff like that. Somebody said get Nintendo power. I love you so much right now. Alright, so this time we're not gonna do that again. And remember, since this whole thing is set up like some sort of weird, spelunking trip, in the tropics, you'll get to see a lot of weird, interesting aesthetic things. Like, you guys noticed how that trap room, right? You saw all the skulls and crossbones from previous sailors or explorers who were braving the dungeon but drowned in there, right? Alright. Oh, and I forgot to mention what those things I collected in the rest area were. Basically they're potions. Trust me, after a certain point you want to hoard these as much as you can. They heal, I forgot what is it, like 6 or is it 8 hearts. And when you find out how much health ties into everything you'll need to do in this game, you start to learn really quickly that that thing is very valuable. And now, if I'm not mistaken, this is pretty much the last room before our first boss. You guys are gonna love this. Oh yes, it's 5 hearts. Alright, boss time. Giant Cobra. That breathes fire. Oh wait, is it this one that it breathes fire? Oh yes it is. No. Oopsie. I forgot what the pattern is here. I think it's like 2 flames and then... And usually this boss is way more free than this. Whoopsie. Anytime now. Oh! Alright, so check this out. Wait, did I just use it? Yo, I'm making all the good calls right now. So yeah, you pretty much don't get any more of those mid-fights, obviously. Oh my god. I forget if I could jump to that last panel because... Wait, I think I can. There we go. Well... Bodied though. Notice the triumphant music. Also the health draining, what do you call it, chime in the background. You'll hear that a lot. Alright. Huh. For real, Zoda? That'd be totally brand new for me. I'm gonna have to try that. I'd love to hear how. Alright, so at the end of every dungeon chapter, they calculate points by some weird metric that I've never actually figured out myself. That's amazing, Zoda. Alright, so back in the day, that was your prompt for this game is saving, because saving is a brand new thing for us cartridges. Please don't do anything stupid. And now, you explore the rest of this island and you notice that the overworld is just a giant sea, but I don't know, I thought it was unique and I like it still. Here we meet Dr. J's assistant from the island, a man named Babu. $14.92, I wonder what that means. Notice how my man could not even finish the sentence without getting out of the way. And now we meet his... Now we're heading onto the island laboratory. Hey guys, who do you think that is talking to us right here? Navcom, also known as Rob. And the islanders wish us a good trip as we head on out with our submarine. I wonder if this is when they're gonna start playing my favorite music in the game. Oh no, not here. Suddenly, dolphins. Yeah, this game series is really fun like that. Remember what I said about the Saturday morning cartoon nature of everything? Yeah. So first things first, we come across a strange alcove of different things. What do you call it? Different features. And on it, a lighthouse.